At this time, I'd like to introduce Miss Elda de la Pena. Am I saying that right? Yeah, de la Pena. De la Pena, okay. She is a keynote speaker, and like I said, she is the Chief Administrative Officer of Tri-State, and she's got some brief remarks about our wholesale power provider. Elda?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here today. It's an awesome crowd, and thank you for providing me such awesome weather to come down here. In Colorado, we never know what we're going to get, so I could have been coming down in snow, or I could have been coming down in sunshine, so happy to be here in the sun. So, as Keith mentioned, my name is Elda de la Pena. I am the Chief Administrative Officer and Chief Human Resource Officer of Tri-State Generation and Transmission. First off, I want to thank the Continental Divide Board of Directors for inviting me here to speak today, and Mr. Robert Castillo for having me here. It's my pleasure to be here today. So again, as mentioned, I'm with Tri-State Generation and Transmission, and they are your wholesale generation and transmission organization. So like Continental Divide, we are a not-for-profit cooperative. So we are owned and governed by our members, like you. We have 45 members, 42 who are actual utility customers, distribution cooperatives, and public power districts. We have approximately 1 million customers with all of our members together. That's a lot of customers. And we have a footprint about 200,000 square miles, which is approximately the size of California. So you can see that we govern a really large footprint for electricity in the states of Nebraska, Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. I know we're called Tri-State, but we have 4 states that we operate out of. We just never changed our name. Keep people guessing that way. So each of our utility members has a representative on the Tri-State board, and Mr. Hoskins is yours. And we love having him on the Tri-State board, and he does an awesome job representing your needs on our board. So what I'd like to do is just give you a brief, because I promised Mr. Castillo I wouldn't spend an hour talking to you guys and boring you, so I'm going to make this fairly short. What I want to do is talk to you about our strategy on how we're going to provide electricity to you and all of our members in the future, because it's a very challenging time, as most of you know right now. So Tri-State, along with its board, recently established a 4-part strategy with 4 priorities. First one, which is the most important one, is reliability, right? You want to be able to use your electricity when you want it, right? 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is. That is our #1 priority as well, to make sure that we have reliable power for our members. The second one is affordability. Not only do you want to be able to access your electricity, you want to be able to pay for it. We think that's important, so affordability is definitely our second priority. Third, having member flexibility. And lastly, responsibility, right? Increasing our clean energy to serve our members. So that is the plan that we have, and with these priorities in mind, and knowing that our members want us to move forward with these priorities, whatever the future holds, we will power it. And I'd like to go through each of these priorities just to let you know how we're going to get there. It's all well and good for me to say we're going to do it, but I'm sure you want to know how. So I'm going to hopefully tell you how we're going to do that. First of all, most importantly, reliability and resiliency. So as I mentioned, that is our #1 goal. So how do we do that? By maintaining a diverse fleet of generation and transmission and a robust transmission system, we ensure that power is available to you 24/7, right? We have to have that. So we plan for a reliable future by conducting extensive resource planning. We have a great team at Tri-State in our energy resource group, and they're constantly looking to the future. They're constantly trying to forecast, and if you ever want to try to forecast what the needs of the future are going to be, that's a pretty tough job. But that's what they do, because they want to make sure that generation is going to be there for the members. And since we own and operate generation and transmission, we know how critical it is to also be able to predict and respond to disasters. I know that last year New Mexico had a lot of wildfires. How do we respond to that and make sure you still have your electricity? Winter storms, windstorms, we have to be able to do that. So by partnering with our member systems, we have the resources to make sure that we can maybe not predict them, but respond to them, which is incredibly important. Secondly, the affordability. So how are we going to do that? So as much as we hear how much reliability is important, we know hand in hand being able to afford electricity is very important to have that power. So we've been working over the last few years to really try to cut our costs. And the last few years have been very challenging because, as you all know, and I'm sure you've all experienced it, there's been inflation, there's been supply chain issues. And through all of that, we've done what we can to make sure we're managing and reducing costs. Tri-State has not increased its rates to members since 2017. So it's been a long time. We actually reduced our costs in 2021 and then reduced them again by 2% in 2022. And we continue to look at all the ways we can possibly look at to manage those costs. And we're also working to secure funding through the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, working with the government to see where we can get some funds to help keep those costs down. Responsibility, what does that mean when we talk about responsibility? That relates to balancing our transition to clean energy and complying with state and federal rules. So regardless of whatever it is we want to do, we still have to comply with a lot of those regulations. And as you guys know, there's been a lot of regulations recently, and just keeping up with those, that's a challenge. So we're very lucky to have people who help us keep track of that at Tri-State. So how else are we gonna do that? We use a responsible energy plan. The responsible energy plan outlines our path to deliver on our mission to work towards those ambitious goals. So we have to have that plan in order to figure out what the path is going to be to maintain the reliability and affordability for the energy. That's how we stay responsible, making sure that we're responsible and support our employees, our communities, as we transition to this new and brighter future together. And then we have flexibility. What does that mean when you think about flexibility? For Tri-State, flexibility means adjusting our policies and programs to help meet the needs of our members, right? At the end of the day, we need to make sure that it's your power and that we are being responsible to you. So flexibility, how do we do that? Well, one of the things with Tri-State, since we are a generation and transmission association, we are able to keep our costs distributed across all economies of scale, right? That's why we have our members, so that we have those economies of scale. But every member and every community is unique. Everyone's the same. If everybody were the same, maybe, it might be easier on how we do this, but it's not. So everybody is different, and we acknowledge that. And so we're working with members who want to provide more of their own self-supplied electricity to see if we can work with them on those initiatives. We also promote and provide different incentives for members for installing EV chargers, to switch to heat pumps, make energy efficiency upgrades, among others. So there are some of those through your cooperative that you can also take advantage of. So to sum it up, Tri-State, we believe that the path forward through this challenging time is together with our members, because we believe that we're better together, and whatever the future holds, we will power it together. So thank you for bringing me here, and again, thank you to Continental Divide for having me come to speak with you today.
Thanks, Elda, and thanks for the information and making the trip down here to be with us today.